Hello, FlossTube, and welcome back to Fairy Tales and French Knots. I'm Erin, your host, and this is my channel about cross-stitch, where I talk long enough to make my family wonder what I'm up to, but short enough that you can watch the video on your lunch break. So, happy snow day to all of you up here in the Northeast. I'm in Western New York myself, so I actually am recording a daytime video, which to me is totally exciting because I have better light in my room and everything looks so bright and the way it might look in real life without me trying to use a whole bunch of different lighting arrangements. So I might talk a little bit longer today, partly because I have good light and lots of time. So I thought I'd start with what I've been working on this past week or so. First up, a little Santa from Prairie Schooler. Here he is on his blue fabric. You can probably see now he'll be holding an arc when he's done. And I'm going to finish him as one of my jar wraps. I've also put in a lot of work on the moon piece from the Vanessa Ann Holidays in Cross Stitch 1989 book. And you can see I've moved on to the full moon picture over here. I took one side of my Q-snap off to keep the borders from completely distorting. But this is stitched over 2 on 40 count black ink spot. And it's going to be the tiniest little thing really, because this is I think a 4x9 Q-snap. So that's coming along. And finally, my gnomes. And here are the gnomes on 28 count golden turret from Sugar Maple Fabrics. If you can find it, you are a magician, because I do believe they stopped dyeing fabrics years ago, but there are the gnomes. And the other thing I've been working on a lot is making my own project bags, because I've made myself a promise that I wouldn't start new projects without a project bag. So I started by ordering this one, which is just super cute, for my gnomes. And it is from Blooming Daisies Crafts, and I'll link her website below. I also found her on eBay, and she made me a smaller bag, which I thought would fit this project and didn't. And when I sent her some feedback and said, gosh, I really hope this would be bigger, she custom made this one for me and didn't charge me extra. So seriously, go check her out. If you have a request, ask. I'm sure she'll do her best to accommodate. I can't promise that, she won't charge, but yeah, her stuff is great. It's really well made. And that's what got me started on trying to make my own. So, in addition to that one, which I've purchased, I have this stack of project bags I've made. And I may have shown some of them before. This is my tattoo fabric. This was the back of a quilt that I made 2 years ago when a friend challenged me to an ugly quilt. This one is blue, and I absolutely love the butterfly fabric. It was total impulse purchase at Joann's. This orange up here was left over from another quilt project I did years ago. I have tons of fabric stash, but not always in standard sizes. This little purple one with the owls came out super cute too. I did the quilting with my 2-inch ruler. I just drew lines with a disappearing ink and stitched them. I did find a little owl charm to put on the zipper. And I also ran out of purple thread, so I did some contrasting pink thread here. This one was not my favorite to sew. I had big plans that went completely sideways on me. So this one, again, I picked up the fabric from the Fat Quarter sale at Joann's, and I thought, oh, bees and yellow, and I will quilt I'll try making little hexagons like, you know, beehive. And I'm not the best seamstress, really, I'm not. So they kind of look okay from here, but when you look at the back, you can see my rather drunken, crooked lines and the fact that my tension wasn't quite right on my machine. So when I sewed the binding down, I started with the yellow thread and went, oh God, this is terrible, and switched back over to black so it hides some of the mistakes. This is a smaller one that I know I showed before. It's got a little 9-inch zipper and actually does have a project in it. Haven't started that one yet. This one, my mother has been going to thrift stores and finding zippers in the craft supplies and then sending them to me in big packages with random fabrics that she finds too. So she found me a black, I think this is a 9-inch or an 8-inch zipper. It was kind of a weird length, but I made this little tiny one, which I think I may have showed before. And then I made, again, with I think this was a 7-inch zipper, this one. And the fabric is seersucker, for those of you who remember those glorious days. So there's that guy. And finally, this itty bitty one, which I think I showed this one before. He's like 4 inches across the top. So the really fun thing about making bags like this is you can make them as, you know, as long as you want. You just have to keep in mind the zipper at the top. So I had some fun making all those. The other thing I should talk about today is some new things I've acquired. Only 2, and actually one of them was something I got back before Christmas. I meant to show it off earlier and I kept forgetting. So, one moment. I'm back. So I picked up a pattern on Etsy from Lucy Beam called Witchy Mother, and I'll just show it real quick because I don't have a color printout of the finished piece. It's an oval shape and it's a witchy mother with a broom, and it's got the word mother underneath it. So there she is, real quick. I'll link to the Etsy shop below. And I was looking at that thinking, you know, what would I do with it? And I thought it would make a perfect box top for, you know, like a 5x7 sized frame. Well, I was looking again on Etsy and I found this oval shaker box. And I know a lot of us know LaHaye's shaker boxes, which are beautiful. This one was a little bit less expensive than his and a little bit more rustic, I guess you might say, but it's beautifully made. It's from a fellow in Connecticut, and I believe his Etsy shop name is Oval Boxman. And again, I'll link that below. He did a custom paint job for me because, get it back together here. I asked if he could paint the inside of the recessed area black as well as the outside so that it will look more like a finished frame piece when I put the witch in it. She'll have to be stitched on 40 count, I think, to fit in a 5x7. But obviously, I've been doing higher count fabrics, so I'm okay with that. So that was one of my new acquisitions. And the other was from Bright Needle Designs. Abby over on Bella Stitch showed some of the things she has in her immediate radar bin. And one of those was Bright Needle's Rainbow Houses sampler, which I really wanted to stitch and put in my office at work. I'm a college librarian and I see a lot of students who are, you know, identified differently on the LGBTQ spectrum. And I thought it would be a nice subtle way of making my office a little more welcoming, but not like in your face for other people. So I went looking for the Rainbow House sampler and I still haven't found it, but I did find I found this, which is Bright Needle's Elizabethan Garden Sampler. And I just fell in love with it. I don't do a lot of samplers. I don't do a lot of historical recreation stuff, but this one, I like the little lady in the middle there, and the whole thing just made me happy. And when I found it on eBay for $35, and I cannot buy a $35 pattern. That just isn't in my budget. But through the help of other stitchers on Facebook and one of the stash unload groups, we found it on 1884 Stitchery for $10, which is much more in my price range. So that came to my house, and since patterns never travel alone, it also came with a piece of 28 count black Jobelin, because I was looking through some of my Halloween and even some Christmas patterns that would look really sharp on black, and I can never find black. So I did splurge a little bit on like a 9x13 piece of black fabric. So those are my acquisitions. Now, and the things I've been working on. So the other thing I wanted to do today was, and all I can think to call it is a just Nan-vaganza, is to show off some of my just Nan finishes and look at some of the patterns in my stash, because I have a lot more than I realized, and I think I need to work on some of them. So I welcome any input, stitch along ideas, whatever. We'll see what we can find. So when I first started stitching, one of the first patterns I finished was Just Nan's Spring Peepers. And I did a whole lot of her little charm squares that, feature some little doodad in the center and then have, geometric repeating patterns around the outside. And I had this framed by my local needlework shop at the time, which was in Erie, Pennsylvania. I believe the owner has since passed away. But so this is Just Nan's Spring Peepers. Let's see if I can. I have great light, but I also have glass on this, on all my framed pieces. So this came out super cute. I believe the pattern called for the frogs to be in gold, but I didn't have or didn't like the gold Krennic. So I used green instead, and I think they pop lovely on the blue fabric. I also didn't use the petite beads that were called for. I used full-size beads. I was a rookie stitcher. I was learning. So there's that guy. And then as I was going through my bins of finishes, it was like, I have Just Nans everywhere. So here, this is finished as a cube. This is peacocks from a collaboration sampler that I believe was done with Shepherd's Bush and Charlene Designs. I don't know the name of it. I picked it up in a freebie pile at Celebrations, and I finished it. See, it's on a piece of light colored fabric, which of course is bleaching out terribly again in the very snowy white colored outside lighting I'm getting. This is another one that I finished as a pin keep with a green backing, some ribbon across the top. Flutterby square, butterfly in the garden. Who knows? Oh no, butterfly lace. I remember that one because around the very edge here, again in white floss, are little butterflies. This one is one of her, it's a swan pattern. And I think I did this on 32 with one strand. It looks very petite. I like it. So there's that one. This was when I learned how to make braided cording and got very proud of myself making ornaments with a blue background there, blue backing. I'm pretty sure I swapped out some beads for this one too. So that's a finish. And the next three, unfortunately, I cannot remember the names of. This one which is one of the larger geometric pieces. It's probably a something garden, dragonfly garden. I honestly don't know. I really like the little garden fairies. I like the, I don't know if a piece of fabric behind this will help or make it worse. I like the bead, the dragonfly bead in the center. There's a lot of over one on this piece, which was a huge pain. Let's see, the blue birds over here, over there, those guys on every side are over one. I think the butterflies are, possibly the little ladybugs down at the bottom of the fairy's skirts. So this is one I've been saving to get professionally framed and just haven't gotten around to. Oh, the faces of the little fairies are also over one. There's some satin stitch in their skirts. So it was a little bit more challenging than some pieces, but still fun. I really like Just Nan's use of like different shades of color, but they're also really annoying to keep changing floss colors. So your back ends up looking like a mass of ends. I also got hooked on her Glorious Wings set, which are these. And I've done these without their halos because, as I've said before, I don't love angels. So I did this one, and I don't know the names of all of them anymore. I have two more in my stash, which I'll show you here in a sec, and those have names on the packaging, but the finishes, I'm sure I wrote them down somewhere. I just don't have them available right now. I also did this pink one. Again, without her halo. And I know that my initial plan was to stitch at least 3 or 4 of them and get them all framed in a coordinating fashion and hang them together. You can see how far that's gotten. So the other weakness I have, and I may have mentioned this in another video, I love mermaid patterns. I like the combination of colors. I like the shape, the sense of movement that tends to come with those patterns and those themes. So when I saw Just Nan's mermaid heart, I had to stitch it. And here it is. This is one of my favorite pieces ever. And again, it's probably going to get hard to read because it has glass on it. I did this with a conversion to Vicki Clayton's hand-dyed fibers silks, and I had it framed at a local place here in Binghamton now called Chez Bella, who Jeff does a beautiful job with frames. And this frame, I'll link his shop below too. I don't know if he does like mail order framing, but at the very least, go check out his galleries of finishes because they're really great. This is my mermaid heart. And I love this frame because it's like silver and copper and pulls in. It reflects the color of the fabric and plays off the theme of scales on the mermaid. And it's just perfect. It hangs in my half bath, which has no shower, so there's no moisture. And I've got a couple other mermaid pieces in there as well. But this is really, even though it's one of the smaller pieces, it's one of my favorites. And oh, it's also stitched on Sugar Maple Fabrics, another piece that I had, stashed away for just the right thing. I think it was called Dolphin Dance. So, I mean, mermaids, dolphins, perfect, right? So, those are my finished Just Nans. Now let's move on to the patterns in my stash, which is somewhat embarrassing, but hey, we've all got stash, right? So beginning with my smallest little bucket, all of my patterns in my stash, I have sorted by size. I have a little tray of like the 3x5 index card sized patterns. I have a bigger little crate with the folded, so they'd be like, 5x8s, 5x7 pattern packets. And then I have a file cabinet with all of the 8.5 by 11 patterns. So from the smaller bin, I have the Charm School Designs mouse. M is for mouse. My daughter's name starts with M, and I'm sure I had plans of stitching this to hang on her door or on her wall. I don't know if she even likes it now. So have that. I have this Victorian floral from Ornamental Treasures 7. Ooh. Okay, so those are the two smalls, very smalls. Now that's not to say that any of the others, when stitched, will be big. It's just that the paper they're printed on is bigger. So I have Autumn Spell, which I don't have any of the frames and doodads that go with some of these. I just have the patterns. A lot of them I picked up in freebie tables and exchanges and things like that. I'm not sure if I love Autumn Spell anymore. Every time I look at it, I go, oh, the colors are lovely. And then I look at like all the over ones and I'm not sure. I have Daffodil Run, which does have the daffodils. And I like this one a lot. Maybe this will be a start. I have one of her little mice, and I bought this when my most recent LNS, Stitchery Row, went out of business and had a big sale. So I have Frosty Chillingsworth mouse with all of his accessories. I don't have the boxes or any of his little friends. I have from her freebie piles and things that would get sold or included when you bought bead packs. This one is also on my list of possibilities. It's called Garden Prince. Weep, weep. I'm not showing it any longer because it's, again, one without a picture. And it includes the frog charm, so it would look nice with spring peepers. Maybe I should do that one. I also have the Heart Butterfly 2008. And there is a tiny picture. It was designed to go in one of her heart frames. So there's the black and white picture. It isn't great. The colors, let's see, 522, 611, 612, 30, the 3600. Those are pinks, I believe. So he would be pinks, purpley pinks. I have Jump for Joy. Do not have the rabbit, but I really like those colors. I have Lacy Diamond, which again is one of her complementary pieces or charts. So I have Moon Riders. I know I picked this one up at Celebrations. I really like the witch. I don't love the pumpkin guy so much, but the ghost and the witch are cute. And actually that little ghost guy could look cute on black fabric maybe, although the spiders wouldn't show up. I have Painted Lady, which evidently has a butterfly charm on it. No picture on this one. One of those pink patterns. I have Primrose Path, which has a little bee dragonfly charm. I have Rose Lady, which looks like it needs a ladybug charm. There it is. I have Royal Blossoms, which this made me laugh. I know I picked this up at Celebrations in the freebie pile. It was compliments of the Golden Unicorn, a cross-stitch shop in Corning. I lived in Corning, New York for almost a decade. I'd never heard of this shop. So obviously this pattern, well, it's copyrighted 1995. The Golden Unicorn must have been gone before I moved there in 2008. So, and no one, when I asked people about needle workshops, no one ever mentioned that there used to be one. So this is Royal Blossoms. I have Snow Forest. Oh, I still do have the pattern for Spring Peepers. So there he is. And I have the Swan one that I finished was Swan Lake. So there's the pattern, and there was my finish. There he is. This one was a freebie called Tall Flowers. And I don't have any of the charms, and in fact, I don't really like them. I just like the flowers and I like the fence. I think it's cute. And I have Just Nan's Strawberry Bunny. This I picked up almost entirely because I like the fact that you can just barely see down here that he's sitting on a spool. And at an auction my dad went to, he brought me a whole bag of wooden spools. And I thought I could put it together, sit it on the little wooden spool, be super cute. So those are my mid-sized Just Nans. Now we get to the big patterns. I have Autumn in the Square. I have all 4 of these, and I do have the little charms that go with them. My patterns are also in alphabetical order, so the other seasons in the square are not in order behind Autumn. I have Batty, Hattie, and Boo. I have Joy. I'm not sure where this one came from because this is not typically my style. She does have, she's an angel with wings, but again, if I stitched her, I'd probably leave off her wings and halo. Maybe I'd change the red to a different color and make her look more like Celtic than Christmas. I have Leave It Green, complete with the charms and beads. I know that I purchased this at the stitching store in Erie, where I lived from 2000 to 2007. So I've had this in my stash for 20 years or so, probably. So there's Leave It Green. This is charted for a Veriswa Silks, which I would 95% chance not use. I have Just Nan's Garden. It has frogs and turtles, and she wins me over every time with frogs and turtles. I love them. There's a little turtles. There's a frog in the center of that square. And, oh, the frog charm is actually in the little pack here, so I have that. This was the other one that I purchased at the going out of business sale at Stitchery Row, which is Sirens of the Sea. I told you, I'm a mermaid sucker for mermaids. So it says, mermaids sing their siren songs, dancing through the waves, and ply their ivory needles, stitching samplers in their caves. So I really like that one. It does have a DMC conversion, and it's stitched on 28 count, so it wouldn't be tiny. And I have the charm pack. Here is Spring in the Square. And here is Summer in the Square. And this is Small Delights Summer Stroll. Again with the turtle in the center. I believe Kathy from Canada sent me that when I was, desperately hunting for it many years ago, and again, still haven't stitched it. And finally, Winter in the Square. So those are all of the Just Nan patterns I have. I also have, not done, the Glorious Wings sets. I have this one, which is Amber. And I think this was the one I initially fell for and really, really liked. And this one actually is a complete kit with all of the fabric and floss included. And this one I have only the pattern, which is Glory. Oh, I do have some of the beads, so this may have been like a cast off from somewhere. So I've got her. I'm not sure how much I love her. So those are what I have in my kit bin. And I did start trying to kit up other ones I liked. Oh, I also had Sparkling Iris. This was in my kit box here. I think somebody many years ago started a Just Nan SAL where we were going to stitch Just Nan once a month or start a new Just Nan every month. I don't even remember. So all of those got migrated into this big box thing on my stash shelf. You can see how far that went. So that's my Just Nan stash. Please feel free to comment on your favorite or give me an idea of one to start, because I have a whole bunch of new project bags. I said I wanted project bags for my starts. I've got those. I should start one. And if you'd like to join me, we could do that. I'd be happy to do a Just Nan stitch along on either a small or one of the bigger pieces. And, you know, let's all stitch. See you later. Bye.